Welcome to this episode of Glasscast. I'm Katy Devlin. I'm the Vice President of Content and Programming for the National Glass Association, and today I am delighted to be chatting with Kyle Lindersmith of Burkle, USA.
Hi,
And
thank you.
Kyle, I should begin. Did I pronounce your last name correctly?
Yep, and you probably won't find many Lindersmiths in the country. I did a search once. I was at Avis and looked up at the board, and it was a Lindersmith, and I thought, wait a minute, that's a different initial for the first name. And turns out there was a second Lindersmith, but I've never bumped into one in all these years. But yeah,
Wow.
pronounced
Wow.
it correctly.
Well, Kyle, why don't you, how would you introduce yourself to our Glasscast audience?
So, Kyle Lindersmith. I am sales manager for PV and glass at Burkle. We're Burkle North America. We used to be Burkle USA, but we've switched about 15 years ago. So, Burkle North America. My history here with the company, I started back in '97 as a service tech and then service manager, and then got into sales and VP and CTO, and now I'm kind of back as sales manager because as we grow, we're just adding more and more staff. We've had a lot of growth through the last 5 years, and I just wanted to stick in sales and specifically with glass. So it's a little bit about Burkle. 2020 was our 100-year anniversary, a little ominous there, of course, but we're in a bunch of different industries. So there are two different sides of the business. One is woodworking, companies like IKEA, Shaw, Mohawk, LVT, hardwood flooring, doors, all kinds of different stuff on the woodworking side. And then on the other side of the business, we laminate circuit boards, your credit cards in your wallet, gift cards, solar modules, and then glass. And glass was kind of a new entry for us. The way that we got into glass is we've been laminating solar modules for many years, going back to about 2007 when we entered that market. And our machines are a little bit different than what we sell in the glass industry, but also very similar. And so about 5, 6 years ago, we were approached by a company to come up with a lamination system specifically for, two pieces of glass. And that was for an electrochromic company. And the development was successful. Beyond that, we kind of kept refining the machine to work a little bit better with PVBs specifically. And I mentioned I wanted to stay in sales because as I've gotten introduced to the glass industry, I have to say I really enjoy it. The glass builds, the glass techs. It's a big but small industry. Everybody knows each other, and it's a really friendly environment. And I really enjoyed getting to know some of the folks, through the G-pads, through glass builds, through glass techs, through some of the glass conferences. And so looking forward to spending some more time in this industry and
Sure.
working on business development to place more of this equipment, of course.
So I'm glad you brought up kind of some of your early impressions of glass and our side of the business. Did anything surprise you about
You know,
glass?
I would say the two biggest surprises, our machine is competing against the autoclave, right? And so, as I start talking to people, everybody's always extremely interested in our technology and wow, this thing is really cool. But everybody is so set in their ways, right? So that's been a bit of a challenge for me. There are some companies out there certainly that are looking to do things differently, wanting to innovate and think outside the box. But it's tough to change minds, that's for sure. When we've been doing it for 50 years this way. That was probably number one. And then number two, when I mentioned the woodworking industry, in that industry, everything is covered with sawdust. And coming into the glass industry from the solar industry is very, very clean. And I kind of had this vision in my head that all these different fabrication shops were going to be, spotless, nice facilities. And that's not always the case. You get down to Florida and you get some of these shops that don't have AC, which I'm not used to, and I'm a little spoiled, being from some different industries. So that's also been, something that's been interesting, and also something that we've had to shift our machines around a little bit to kind of enclose them a little bit more and deal with some of these harsher environments with high humidity and high temperature. So those would probably be the two biggest surprises, I would say. I found the reluctance to change and just the environments.
Hmm. Yeah. So you mentioned glass builds, glass tech. We are recording this right kind of toward the end of December in 2024. So we're pretty fresh off of those shows. Tell me what some of your big takeaways were from those events.
So glass build, I would say that we really enjoyed glass build. Atlanta was good for us. We had a great spot. Vegas, we were kind of stuck back in the corner, and that wasn't all that awesome. But Dallas was good. I used to live in Texas, and so it was kind of nice getting back. Haven't been back there forever, but it was a good show. Takeaways from glass build. We just we are super excited because just that big autoclave free lamination banner that spins draws so many folks in. We're trying to do a good job with business development to get our brand out there, but what my biggest takeaway is just how much interest there is in Lamy right now. And not
Mhm.
just Lamy, but specifically autoclave free, whether that's the bagging, whether that's, RIFL or whatever the case may be. Some of these smaller fabricators just look at having to buy an autoclave and they're like, oh, everything that's got to go with this, the concrete work, everything, the facilities work, they're just looking for a simpler solution. So again, my biggest takeaway that I really have fun with is the excitement. We had some of our colleagues from Germany come in, and this was their first time at Glass Build, and their comments were, you stand up front, and this is probably one of the not the only trade shows, but you stand up front and those doors open, and just a mob of people come rushing in. You're not used to that in a lot of different industries, but it's kind of neat to see the excitement right off the bat. And our guys were kind of, big smiles on their face when Max came through with a marching band and just all that different stuff. Their takeaways was just, they were super impressed with how excited, potential clients were about our technology, about the industry, about the trade show. Just they all walked away with a big smile on their face and are looking forward to coming back to Glass Build next year. So just so much interest in Lamy right now. It's really exciting for me to be in this position right now.
What do you think is driving that?
So, the feedback I get from a lot of these folks is, not too long ago, as we all know in the industry, there were a couple of major price hikes that really impacted operations for a lot of folks. And, what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing is that in a lot of markets, folks just can't be competitive when they're building a Lamy product and they're having to buy their Lamy. They just can't profit. They can maybe break even, and so they'll break even in a lot of cases, trying to keep legacy clients on board. But when it comes to those Lamy projects, they're just not making money. Quality is another concern, and I think it's just a matter of consistency, consistent quality. They're not always seeing, and so it's price, it's quality, and lead time kind of trickles in there from time to time too. But the two major factors are just cost and quality, is what I'm hearing. Folks are wanting to vertically integrate and be able to control their own future.
Mhm. Let's talk a little bit more about your customers. We're right on the precipice of a new year. I think there's a little bit of trepidation about the market environment. We have a new returning administration coming in. So what are you hearing from your fabricator customers? What are their biggest concerns? What's keeping them up at night?
I think interest rates, of course, but they seem to be coming down a bit. And just the cost of goods. When a fabricator, isn't already laminating, they've got to add a lamination department. They're starting from scratch.
Hmm.
So, things that I might not think about are, they'll say, oh yeah, we can buy all the equipment, but then we're going to need somebody that's a lamination expert. Where are we going to find that person? So things that keep these folks up at night are, political headwinds potentially, but I think with the new kind of business pro business administration coming in, I think that's going to squelch some of those concerns. Folks on the renewable side are feeling a little bit different on the solar side of our business, that's for sure. But I think folks see hopefully interest rates coming down, a business environment improving, but the things that keep them up at night are costs. We start talking about these projects and it's just the cost of everything has come up so high. I was talking to one client the other day and he said, hey, we're going to need a clean room, for this production line, Kyle. And I'm like, yeah, well, I'll go out and get some pricing for you. And they said, yeah, but we just spent $200,000 on a small bathroom on our facility. And so it kind of gives you an idea of, if we're spending $200,000 for two stalls and a couple of urinals, it just gives you an idea about how much these overall projects end up costing. And so it's a bit of a barrier to entry. And that's a big concern for them. They'd like to get into Lamy, but it's just that initial investment is so steep. And then last, and I hear this across all of our industries, it's people. You know, maybe you
Mhm.
can find the people, but how long do they stay? You know, how much do you invest in training someone and then they find another job somewhere else? You know, some of these working conditions, as I mentioned, down in Florida, for example, if you're not in a air-conditioned facility, then you're probably going to have high turnover because it's a
Mhm.
tough job and the environment is hot, humid, sticky, and so everybody wants to automate. Everybody wants to automate. And I, you know, don't want to keep making the plug, but you know, our machine is in out. It just needs a lot less people. And so we just have time and time and time and time again have folks asking us, you know, we need to automate. How can we reduce headcount? We're having a hard time finding people. Again, across the board, the circuit
Mhm.
board, the solar, the plastic car, the woodworking, everybody's having a tough time with people.
Yeah. 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 Labor, that's the perennial issue. No
Absolutely.
matter what's happening elsewhere, that one seems to keep steady, keeping a concern.
The help wanted signs aren't going away, everybody, anytime soon. So.
So, looking again, 2025, what are your expectations for the new year? You know, if you could briefly summarize what's in your crystal ball for the next year.
For Burkle, you know, we're going to keep plugging away. I absolutely think that Lammy is going to play a big part in the glass industry. I know that the NGA is lobbying, you know, for some code changes with regards to school security, these things. That could open up a whole nother business space here or for Lammy if that ends up working its way through. So for Burkle, you know, we're looking forward to hopefully continuing to build market share with the IFL. We just received a PO here last week from one of the major manufacturers in the industry. I'm not allowed to say who just yet, but definitely a big win for us. We've got a couple other projects coming up that are hot, definitely high on the opportunities list, and we're just looking forward to again increasing our footprint here and getting more of this equipment out of the industry. It's been a bit of a long grind getting to know everybody, but this year, I personally plan on trying to hit the streets more, knock on doors, visit sites, and get to know more folks in the glass industry. But we see a strong year at the moment. Burkle as a whole, with all of our business units, none of them are sagging. You know, some of them may be laying a bit flat, but we see a lot of opportunities in the woodworking as well as the glass. Glass right now, our managing director, our management team in Germany is putting a huge emphasis right now on glass. We're hiring folks. We're going to train process engineers to be part of our organization. So we're not just an equipment provider, we're a solutions provider. But we see a lot of opportunities in glass right now, and we're banking big on it.
I like that. I like that closing. That's great. Well, Kyle, thank you so much for joining us. And thanks everybody for listening. This will be our last episode of 2024, and we will see you in the new year.